Dune Part 2 is now in theaters and it's already dominated its first week at the box office. Both critics and audiences are loving this film. And if you guys want to know my thoughts on the film without giving any spoilers, I did make a non-spoiler review recently that you can watch on my channel. So if you guys have seen my non-spoiler review for the film, then you already know that I do really like this movie. I liked it a little more than the first Dune film, which I did really like, but I think this one kind of tops that film for me. But for this video, I am going to be talking more about the stuff that I couldn't talk about in my non-spoiler review because I had to keep them vague because they relate to heavy spoilers. So if you have still not seen Dune Part 2 yet, this is a spoiler warning. Don't watch this video if you don't want to get spoiled. Just watch my non-spoiler review, then watch the movie itself in the theater, and then come back to this video where you get to hear me talk more about the stuff that I wanted to talk about in my non-spoiler video. And one of the big spoilers I'm going to mention is a big reveal that happens halfway into the film when both Paul Atreides and his mother first find out that they are descendants of the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård. And this becomes a huge shock for Paul Atreides because, again, spoilers for the first Dune, the Harkonnens and the Baron took over the Atreides throne and are responsible for Paul's father, played by Oscar Isaac, killing himself by poisoning a bunch of people in this one room, including the Baron, but unfortunately it doesn't kill the Baron. And that puts him in a very serious and conflicting moment where he realizes that one of the most ruthless people in the galaxy, responsible for killing a bunch of innocent people, including his father, is his grandfather. Both Timothée Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson are great in this film, and Ferguson at times can be pretty terrifying when how she uses her telekinesis powers to talk to Paul and control other people's minds around her. She even tries controlling Chani's mind, played by Zendaya, because Zendaya was trying to convince Rebecca Ferguson what she's doing with her son is wrong. But since everyone around Paul sees him as basically the Messiah, she has to keep convincing people that he is the Messiah so that they can get their revenge on the Harkonnens. And both Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet do have pretty good chemistry together. You definitely see their bond grow while she is starting to slowly see Paul change his ways. And that does kind of put Chani in a very difficult situation where she doesn't feel like trusting him anymore, because even though that she knows that the Harkonnens are ruthless and terrible and what they've done to his family is horrible, but she's also starting to see that Paul could end up being as bad as them if he keeps going down this path. And another thing that makes it more conflicting for Paul is that he's fallen in love with Chani, and it starts to become very difficult for him, even though he does realizes that some sacrifices have to be made when he eventually kills the Baron. And when he's about to kill the Emperor, played by Christopher Walken, who is behind all of this mess, Florence Pugh tries to stop him from trying to kill him, and Paul's only way to show mercy is that he decides to marry Florence Pugh and let the Emperor live as a prisoner. Speaking of Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken, I was kind of surprised that this movie starts with a narration from Florence Pugh of her explaining more about her life and what her father's like as an emperor, but you really don't learn a whole lot about them throughout this film besides that narration scene and a couple of scenes they have throughout the film, which I assume that they're gonna save more of that in a possible Dune Part 3, which I don't know if they are actually gonna make a part 3 in the future. At least that's what I think by the time I'm making this video. Also, side point, this doesn't relate to the movie at all. It's just like an interesting thing I caught when I was watching this film. So this movie also has Josh Brolin and Dave Bautista, and both of them are Drax and Thanos in the MCU, and in the comics, Drax kills Thanos. But in this film, Josh Brolin as Gurney kills Glosso, played by Dave Bautista. So it's kind of a little thing that they switched around. I know they weren't planning that. It was just kind of a coincidence. And again, it doesn't relate to this movie at all. It's just like an interesting coincidence I found in this film. Let's talk more about Austin Butler a little bit, who is easily one of the best parts in the film and is easily the most psychotic character in the whole movie. When he is first introduced around this arena and it's all black and white, you can tell how intimidating and terrifying and slimy that he can be as a character. But the Harkonnens are still putting that to a test, with having 3 guys around him, 2 of them being drugged and 1 of them not. But Austin Butler is still able to kill all 3 of them without breaking a sweat, especially when he's fighting Paul in the 3rd act. I mean, granted, he dies in that fight, but it still doesn't change that he is one of the most intimidating parts of this film. I kind of want to see Austin Butler play more characters like this. I mean, I know he's known for Elvis, but I kind of want to see him play more characters like this, where he just disappears into a character and shows how dark and dangerous this character can be. Now, besides some of the new characters in this film, there is still one actress in this film I didn't even mention in my non-spoiler review, who wasn't in any of the trailers or any of the marketing, but was at the premiere for the film. And that surprise actress is Anya Taylor-Joy, and she plays Paul Atreides' younger sister in the future, and he's able to know that by seeing visions of her from the future. But in present time, where Paul is, she hasn't been born yet, but he's able to see visions of her in the future, and when Rebecca Ferguson drinks some of the blue stuff that gives her blue eyes, she starts to hear her unborn baby talk to her, and it's still Anya Taylor-Joy's voice. I mean, she's only in this movie for like 3 seconds, and that's all we see from her, and she only says a couple of lines in that flashback scene and a couple of lines when she's talking to Rebecca Ferguson with her mind. So the film ends with Paul starting the Holy War and Chani leaving him because he decides to marry Florence Pugh's character, which makes Chani feel betrayed, and she just leaves. And that does kind of put us, the audience, in a conflicting feeling for Paul, like thinking, is this really the right decision for Paul to do, to go against the Harkonnens? I mean, you get why he's doing this. He's doing it out of revenge for his father and his family, but you can still really tell that it's not really the right decision for him to do. So the Holy War starts, Chani goes out on her own, and Paul becomes the next Duke of Atreides. And I don't know if it's how they planned it from the start, but it kind of feels like that they are doing this as a small setup for a possible 3rd film. And like I said earlier, I don't know if there's going to be a 3rd movie. I don't know if they're going to continue this story with a 3rd film or just end it here. The only way I can know that is if I read the book myself. And to be honest, I still have never read the book before, so I really don't know how that book starts or ends. And please don't spoil how the book ends for me. I don't want any spoilers for the book in the comments. I just want to read the book for myself. So guys, what did you think about Dune Part 2 when you saw it in the theater? Did you like that Paul make this decision at the end? And do you think that they're gonna make a Part 3? Or do you think that they should just end it with this film? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this review, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I am posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.